Well, given all the grime and crap that had accumulated on this cab, I thought it might be a good idea to take it outside and give it a real bath with soap and water. And then I could bring it inside and shoot some more epoxy primer on it, and then put the high build on it and start getting ready for paint. Still haven't decided on the color. I was really hoping to work on my street rod today, but kind of in the middle of putting new rear brakes in my plow truck, and they're really rusty. I don't think they had disc brakes on the Titanic, but if they did, this is what they'd look like. So for any of you people that have watched the earlier episodes of this project over the last 20 years, I was going to take an original Dakota steering column, and one of the things I didn't want to have is I really didn't want to have it look like a 90s steering column in this truck. So I stripped all the stuff off of it, and I was going to try to surround it with, I was going to use some exhaust pieces. I found a 5-inch exhaust that went up to a turbo on a big block Cummins, and I thought maybe that would work. It would have, but it was going to be ridiculous. It was going to be a lot of work. So I gave up on that. So I ended up going to Summit out in Ohio and checked out what they had for steering columns and steering wheels, and this steering column is actually the same length as the original steering column was in the truck. So anything from, say, 1954 to 1960, right where the steering wheel is located is now, where I have this one, is exactly where it would have been in the original truck. This is the steering column shaft for a Dakota, but with this new steering column I'm going to use, we've got to do some modifications. This little coupler I found online will mate right up to the new steering column, and if I weld this end onto the Dakota piece, we'll be in good shape. So I need to cut off the shaft right here, and then I can weld that adapter onto there, that little coupler piece that goes with the steering column, the new one. And this little coupler will weld onto here, and there's actually a hole inside of this. I don't think I can get a shot of it, but if this is the right outside diameter to fit in that hole, it'd be really cool, because I've either got to lose a 1/4 inch off of here before I weld it, or if I can slide it in, it'll slide in a 1/4 inch, which will be ideal. We'll see when I get it all cut apart. So something I'm going to try and do, and I'm pretty sure I can manage it, is I want to take the original horn button from the truck and put it on to a blank horn button that goes with this Leccara steering wheel. We'll see how it works. It'd be fun to have just the original horn button on there. We'll see. It'd be a little detailed. It might be a pain in the neck, and I might not do it at all. So the last thing I did before I stopped filming for a long time was the license plate receiver. Yeah, that's on the last episode. So I think if you people have watched that, well, then you probably know what I did was to cut this piece in half here, and then where the cutouts used to be for the bumper brackets, I cut those out and then slid this piece back to match back here. One of the other things I have to deal with is this piece of stainless steel trim, because I want to use that in the grill. The original ones had a little vertical piece in the center, but I think I'm going to eliminate that and just have the horizontal piece. And then in the front, I've got this hole that used to be part of the vertical piece, which I'm going to eliminate. And that's going to get well, it's going to have to be a stainless steel bolt. So I imagine a carriage bolt would be best, something that'll kind of fill this hole, and then we can just, weld it in or TIG it in. And so this area in here, which was in the original trucks, this was a kind of like a Wimbledon white. And a lot of times these headlight doors were white. Few of them were chrome, but very few of them were. Most of them were that white that matched the inset in the grille here. But what I'm going to do is use a kind of a bright silver metallic that I've used on some other projects that I like. And I'm going to do this in a bright silver metallic, both of these, and this inset's going to be a bright silver metallic. So whether the truck ends up being the blue that I was originally thinking, or whether it's going to be black, still haven't decided. I think it's going to depend on how good my bodywork comes out. If the bodywork looks like it would stand up to black and not look ridiculous, then yeah, I might do it in black. It'd be pretty sharp. Okay, so I got brave and decided I'd put a little heat on this high spot. All I used was a propane torch, and I heated it up in a circle, and then got to the center and put a little extra heat right in the center, and popped it with a body hammer, a pick end of a body hammer, and then cooled it down with compressed air, and it's perfectly flat. So it worked. Wish I'd videotaped it, but I'll bet you any money the other bedside has a high spot as well, and I'll demonstrate that one. So I've got this other bedside out, ready to finish off. Most of the body work is done. There's a little bare metal showing through in a couple of high spots, but I think I'd rather not try shrinking it. Then I've got to do the undercoating underneath the fender, but I'm going to get a coat of epoxy on it before I do that. And we're getting real close to putting the high build primer on, and then after that we can start talking about color. And I just got to make a decision whether I'm painting it blue or whether I'm painting it black. I'm just going to check these areas here where there's a little bit of rocking back and forth. It's not real bad. The fenders are pretty much ready. I think I might shoot another coat of epoxy on them because I did use some spot primer in areas which I don't trust. So I'm going to start undercoating all the panels. I already did the underneath of the cab. So now I'm going to do all the fenders and different parts of the bedsides that you won't see, but will be exposed to road grit and moisture and other nasty things kicked up by the wheels. The cab is ready for epoxy primer, along with the fenders and the nose. Then on to the high build primer. This high build primer that I've been using is it's inclined to dry really quickly, so it doesn't flow out much, and the surface is a little rough. But there's 3 coats on here, so I've got plenty I can sand off. I sprayed some black lacquer on here, just kind of fogged it on so I could get some sort of guide coat going. And for those of you not familiar with why somebody would do that, is when you sand that away, once there's no more black showing, that means you've got a nice flat surface. If black is still showing, you have a low spot, and you need to keep sanding. And if you really screwed up in the very beginning, means you have to apply more body filler. But I know I'm not that bad off. So now you want to do this in a crosshatch pattern. And the long board is going to give you a pretty true surface. All right, so I'm losing most of the black here. So once I get down to where all these little black patches have completely gone, then I'll switch over to the 400. I could probably switch to the 400 now, but the 400 will take care of the 320 scratches pretty well. And pretty quickly. But the 320 gets to the bottom of this black stuff a little quicker, so you got to be careful doing it, but that's seems to be the way it works best.